And we're back with another episode of
Culture Couch. It's like we never left.
Yeah. Wait, we left?
Yeah. Well, how many people do you think watch Culture Couch episodes in sequence? It's like they miss a couple weeks and they watch back-to-backs.
I think everyone.
Everyone?
I think
Like
everyone.
even if they've already seen it, they just rewatch.
Everybody watches every episode.
Starts from the top.
Yeah.
Just goes down the list.
Yeah. I mean, we change clothes, but do we ever leave the Culture Couch? It's more of a mindset than
Sometimes we don't even change clothes. Like I'm wearing the same outfit I was wearing on the Mainline podcast. How is that even possible?
I don't know, man. You must like kind of live a minimalist lifestyle.
Yeah, because we definitely never record things the same day.
Right. I want to talk about what I'm drinking right now because people may find this interesting. Our seasonal blend for the winter is called Jolly Juice, right?
Right.
It's a 3-bean blend. And this is not about our topic today, but we are a coffee company, so deal with it. We make our blends with a very high degree of intentionality, right? Sometimes roasters it's a blend, it's the kitchen sink blend. They just throw a bunch of coffees together and then roast them all together. But we roast each of our coffees separately to the best of their potential to where they are best represented. And then we blend them afterwards, right?
Right.
Just like if you're making a margarita,
Yes.
You've got your tequila. You've got your orange liqueur. My preferred orange liqueur is Cointreau. What's your favorite?
Oh, same.
You don't like dry Curacao?
I've used it every now and then. I would rather have Cointreau.
Yeah. And then you got your lime. All three of those are different, very different tasting ingredients, and you blend them all together at a different ratio to get the intended marg. So same for our blends. I am drinking a natural sun-dried Burundi coffee. So this coffee will never hit the market, will it?
No.
Because it's in one of our blends, Jolly Juice. So it's cool to single out. Anyways, I have my good friend of many years, Riley Westbrook, next to me on the Culture Couch.
Always great to be here, Ross. Thank you for the first class flight this time. It was nice to be upgraded.
Well, onwards and upwards. But today we're talking about servant leadership. Once again, it's a very multifaceted diamond of a topic. We've been talking about not only what a servant leader is, but we've been talking about these practices that a servant leader adopts and owns and practices. We talked about being a cheerleader, being a constant voice of encouragement and being this like stoic, just steady voice for your team. We also talked about checking your ego at the door, right? Our third practice of a servant leader is leading by example. This, to be honest with you, this kind of like hits close to me, hits home close to me. It means a lot to me because if you couldn't tell, can talk and conceptualize.
I could tell.
About stuff all day.
This morning, Ross was asking me advice for something like that. And then he just said everything he was going to say and figured it out for himself.
That is true. Talking is a fine thing to do. We all need to talk. But there have been times where I've done a lot more talking and a lot less doing. And you, on the other hand, are someone you naturally lead by example. I've noticed this about you. You're able to talk, but you mostly just walk the walk. And that, whether you realize it or not, that definitely legitimizes everything that you stand for by the way you live your life. And so that's why I wanted to fly you in for this episode.
It just kind of worked out perfectly.
It worked out.
All the planning and...
Yeah, we'll hit Ruth's Chris after this. It'll be great. But thank you, Ruth's Chris. But the first thing to say about leading by example is that talk is cheap. Got to walk the walk. Have you ever in your life, in your career, or just, playing sports, whatever it is, have you ever had a leader that was hypocritical?
I can say yes, I have.
Yeah. Without absolutely dragging their name through the mud, what was that like? And in what ways were they hypocritical without giving too much away?
I think mainly when you, and just to be clear, thank you for your kind words. This is something
Of course.
I struggle to and have to constantly check myself to figure out ways to live this out. Because of my experience in the past, when you have someone, let's just take it super foundational. Lots of coffee companies are run by people who own the business but maybe don't operate within the business.
Sure.
Maybe you're listening and that is your current experience. And you have someone who potentially has large expectations, yet you've never seen them do the thing or they don't even know how to do the thing. But they have an expectation for things to be a certain way. Or I even think about, here's one that's just like super far back. When it was freshman year of high school, and in health/PE class, they like check your body fat percentage, and I was told by the morbidly obese teacher that I was overweight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it was just their job to tell me such a thing.
Sure.
However, and then, then you're told to go run some laps in PE.
Right.
Or I can think of times in like tennis where tennis was not very valued in Dawsonville.
Yeah.
So they would kind of just throw whatever teacher at it.
Dare I say marginalized?
Oh, for sure. And so you would have teachers who didn't know how to play tennis except for what they saw on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah.
And so thus not being led by example in that way meant literally not getting better at all, but also not being motivated whatsoever towards what you were doing or having any what's the word I'm looking for? Any expectation to perform well.
Sure. So you're speaking about a leader's competence.
Yes.
Not only just their competence in the certain field that they're leading in, but also you're also talking about like something Ethan is really great at is whenever he's on bar, he's the first guy to take the trash out. He's the first guy to do the dishes so that the people he's leading can grow in these more like skill-based roles, like pouring latte art or whatever. And I get that. Like I would rather somebody on the team, I know how to pour latte art, right? Because I've done this for a while. You know how to pour latte art.
That's right.
And so I would rather somebody on the team get better at latte art while I take the trash out. So anyways, let me ask you this. Do you think that a leader has to be the most competent person in the equation for them to effectively lead a team?
I think yes, and I think no.
Uh-oh.
I think...
You're saying it's not black and white?
Well, so, yes. You might call that gray. There's some gray area here.
Let's get into the gray, baby.
So, lots of businesses have multiple leaders around, us being one of them.
Yeah.
So, whenever you have I would say, so if a business only had one leader, I would argue that they should be competent in everything going on.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have that person to look to and that person to be a final authority in some things, then it can get tough.
Yeah.
Unless they've instilled someone else, but then that person might go get another job or something like that. Like in the instance where, say, we're talking about a single owner cafe.
Sure.
So I do think that person should be the most competent. I think they should put in the work to do that. In our instance, I would argue that Ethan does know the most about cafe operations of anyone around. Like, Ethan and Mikey. Like, I'm sure Mikey knows some things that Ethan doesn't know.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
That's for sure.
But I would, I'm also a leader in Valor.
Yeah.
I have no idea where in the hell the napkins are in the back. I don't know the chai recipe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to make any of the seasonal drinks. So I have a lack of cafe competence. However, I can show my leading by example through other ways of displaying our values, through hard work.
Yeah, and the fact that you are less competent in that area is going to change the way you lead those people.
Yes.
Especially because they're not your direct reports.
Yeah, exactly. I'm usually not walking into the cafe and yelling out commands.
Right.
To take out the trash.
So I
would never do that.
Yeah. Even if the place is a mess and customers are banging down our doors or whatever, like, you're not going to be the guy that's like, all right, guys, huddle up. There's a lot that needs to change around here, and I know how to do it. Like, you're probably going to, best case scenario, Ethan there, you're going to pull him into the back and be like, dude, do you see everything that's going on right now? And he's probably like, yeah. Or, if Mikey's, whatever the leader is. And really, this is a very hyper-specific thing to our operation, but the principle is that there's a certain amount of, like, sweat equity you have to put in to gain that influence and that respect. Like, of course, everybody at the cafe respects you.
I mean, most of them have never seen me behind the bar at this point.
But, like, especially some of our newer employees, like, they don't even, you may not even be, like, that credible in their eyes to, like, know the espresso recipe or, like, so they're just not going to ask you.
Like, they don't know I can pour a Slowzetta.
Right. But you can.
But I can. Like, I really can.
You do for the Instagram posts. But yeah, I just think that's an interesting thing. I have heard of, in a book I read one time, of a leader who was able to lead a team of coders, a computer coder, a computer development team.
Yeah, software developers.
That's what I was trying to talk about. And he did not know how to code, but he maybe didn't need to because his role was more in the, like, coordination and vision department. So anyways, we've talked a good bit about, like, competence as a leader. Another thing to think about is, I mean, you kind of already said it, but, like, if you're going to have core values in a company and the leaders don't maintain and live those values, then that completely diminishes the credibility of everything you say to those people.
Like, imagine if a company had a value for environmental friendliness, but the owner drove a Hummer.
Wow. Yeah, not the first thing I would think of.
And not the EV Hummer, not the new one.
EV, not the H3 either.
Like an H1.
H1.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of funny, but I totally get what you're saying. Like, if you drove a Tesla, for example, then people might listen to you about that value.
For sure.
But man, these people that we're leading, they notice what we do. And for you there, our listeners, our watchers, if you are in any sort of leadership position, or, we all have influence in some degree, right, to somebody. And so if I can look at the people that I'm leading and I ask them to do something that I have done as well, that I've paved the way and they've watched me do it, I feel a lot better about asking them to do it. Especially if it is something menial like taking out the trash or like cleaning the roastery. I think about that a lot too, though, because in our jobs, sometimes it's not the best thing to deep clean the HQ here, right? Because we need to be doing the things in our job description. But yet, whenever we lead a team, it's proven over and over and over that people that are led like to see their leaders in the ditches with them.
Yeah.
Like I think about a war general being the first one, charging in battle.
Yep.
Like that is like what ultimately breeds respect for a leader, Mm-hmm. So we have to have this balance of like, okay, to be a servant leader is not to just do everything for everyone, is not just to do all the hardest crap all the time so that people see you. Mm-hmm. It's to know the right amount of doing that to where you still are doing like your other part of your job as a leader, but being in the trenches with your people, taking the low road and supporting them as opposed to just like telling everybody to do everything all the time while you just sit in the office,
Yeah.
I just think that goes so far, and being led and being a leader, I have seen that value time and time again. So yeah, I mean, it's a good practice for this week, whether you are a leader or you're just in the workplace or even in the home, try to think of what emphasis can I put on going low as a leader and doing some of the work that nobody wants to do. Because if you want the people that you're leading to do that menial task and do that well, you have to be the first person that's willing to do that. I think it's a great week here on the Culture Couch.
Respect, dude.
Leading by example. I am super hungry for Ruth's Chris right now.
Yeah, it's calling my name.
I need a
filet mignon,
medium rare, in a gin martini.
Oh yeah, I'll probably go red wine myself.
Okay, great. Well,
all right. This will be out after Thanksgiving, but happy belated Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And merry early holidays to you. We love you.
Love you.